And we are back. How are you, Farhad?
I am good, Sunetro. You're holding a pencil. That's intimidating me. Are you going to take notes during our podcast now?
No, I just love having something in my hand. But by the way, I think
Is
this
that a
is
pencil?
yeah, that's a pencil.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
Apsara Beauty pencil.
Lovely.
So,
Lovely.
no, so this is a remnant from my public speaking days because I used to stammer a little. So
Okay.
but I used to love going on stage. So,
Okay.
I remember there was this one teacher who taught me that you have it all, but all you need to do is get rid of the stage fright. And the only way to do that is to kind of deflect and divert your attention. This is how I used to divert my attention
Amazing.
by holding a pen, pencil, something in my hand.
Yeah. I used to eat pencils, lead
Really?
and all. Like,
Oh
and
my
I'm not even
God.
saying like sugarcane style, eat, chew, and spit
Yeah.
out. I used to just, I don't know how I'm alive.
Yeah.
Because like lead poisoning is a thing, I guess, but
Yeah.
I was so nervous all the time. I used to literally
Ugh.
rubbers, pens, I used to chew everything.
Wow. But yeah,
Also
I
made me a
mean,
successful gay.
yeah, sure. Well, I let's first and foremost, I'm so happy to be back after like this quick break. Wasn't much of like it wasn't a quick break, but like a
A
month long break,
sabbatical.
a
Yeah.
sabbatical. And to all the listeners there, what we've done is we've kind of rejigged our format a little bit, and we have more to offer because there's so many talking points that we always want to coming back to well, Farhad not doing all of that, but
But that's the main thing. We are gonna be on
yeah,
video
sure.
now.
Yeah,
Okay.
one is that. But just
Uh,
in terms of a format, I think what we realized was there are so many talking points that we want to approach every episode, and we sometimes aren't able to. So we decided to break our episode into three mini sort of segments, and each of them has their own sort of place. We obviously have the main segment, which is what we call the big talk, which is the middle segment, and we have intros and outros, which we've called TikTok, RIP, but this is TICKTA or TALK. But it's a segment where we'll talk about something newsworthy that's relevant to the queer community and beyond. And then there is the outro segment, which we want everyone to kind of leave on a happy note, and we want to be very, very happy when we are sort of ending a conversation. We've decided to call it small talk, and we will like that's what it's going to be. We will talk about stuff we've consumed, someone, any kind of recommendations, anything that we watched, any person that we got inspired by. Basically, Farhad loves or Shunetro loves, like a segment like that, very random stuff. So yeah, so I hope you guys like this new structure and all these segments, and do give us your feedback as and when we proceed. So yeah.
I just realized for the first time one confusion that used to happen often will go away because of this video format now. You know how many times I used to get a message saying, "Oh, sorry, hey, I heard about your thing in Ranchi, and when you're in Ranchi," and I was like, "Oh my God, this person heard the entire episode thinking I was in Ranchi." So now that will be established. Who's
Why
who?
1 second? Oh yeah, true that. Yeah, like who's who, because I also used to get yeah, like this is me,
Yeah, hi.
Shunetro.
Also, flattery, but so many times, "Hey, Shunetro, your voice is so hot," but they're messaging me, and I'm like, "Okay, fine, thanks. My voice is not hot, I guess."
But here we are, two pretty boys, and I mean, if we can say so. But
We can.
yes, we can. Like,
Yeah, look at your hair. God, I can't stop staring at you. God, I want
stop.
those piche ka do bulbs on top of your head.
Stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, coming back to, I think, first and foremost, congrats on your new house. I mean, your new
Thank you so
abode.
much. Thank you
It
so
must
much.
feel great. And we'll come to that in our main segment because I have so much to talk about in terms of the moving. And even I moved homes. I think
Yeah.
we'll talk about that in the middle segment. But coming to our first segment, TikTok. Let's talk about
What
the,
do we,
I
what's
mean,
been, I
I
know what's
mean,
been the biggest thing in the news. So
yes. So I mean, of
first,
course, the response, the abominable response that the center gave for, to the idea of same-sex marriage. But I just want to put it out there. Of course, we should be incensed, but should we be surprised? That's why it didn't hit me, because I feel like there is a lot more to achieve before we get to marriage. I think this this government doesn't even understand um, what choice is. Leave aside same-sex marriages. So I feel like there is some distance to go. Of course, we have to keep fighting for it, but I think that there's some distance to go before we even think of a regime that's as regressive as it is would even think about something like this. So I know that there is a large part of our community that was very hurt by it. But all I want to say is that I mean, this government, and I don't think this should come as a surprise. And sometimes when you're not surprised, you can save yourself of the hurt, is what I'm trying to say. And to all the queer sanghis out there, like, fuck you.
Oh. Oh.
Like, really, if they have a justification for this response, it's I really.
यार मेरे केस में तो see at least you have a point of view on it, right? I was so confused because first of all, I hate that I'm not so, I don't actively read or like fully understand. So okay, what is the great thing about gay marriage? I understand largely what it does for us, and I in fact remember reading last week somewhere that for the first time, once gay marriage got legalized in USA in almost all the states, yeah, suicide rates have dropped like crazy in the LGBT. So I understand the good that comes out of it. I understand that it's all for this of acceptance, but on some level, I'm like, my personal views then come into it. Like, I'm like, why do we want to fight for something that is already seeming like an archaic system overall, or an, So when things like that, this happened, there's this strong political party that puts out this, hey, you can't do this, and then people get incensed and angry, and I'm like, where do I fit in all of this? Because right now I'm like, will I ever get married? Do I ever want to get married? What is marriage anymore? Like, so many of my friends are divorcing, at least like the straight couples that I know. Like, so I'm like, what are we fighting for here and all of that? Again, I might not know the full extent of it, but I was very confused about this. So as usual, I just sat that one out. Like, no
So
comment.
I do agree with where you're coming from. I see, the thing is, and just I agree that everyone should have the right to marry. The second point, however, and this is something I think we've touched upon a little in our previous conversations, is this is my sole personal view, and I don't speak for the community. I just feel like, and this is, there are people who agree with me on this, and I know you agree with me on this. Marriage itself is, like you were saying, it's a heteronormative sort of institution. If we are rebuilding the world in our mirror, if we are rebuilding the idea of gender, if we are rebuilding the idea of how we dress up, if we are completely almost creating a renaissance of all of that, reforming all of that, why can't we reform this institution? Why can't we create something for us and us only, which has the same rights, of course? And I know this might come across as, oh, so idealistic, but let's start there. Let's start with an idealistic idea. Let's start with something that's superbly utopian. But my thought has always been, why can't we have that's truly ours, which the straight community can't replicate? Let this be ours and ours only, just the way we have been denied marriage for so long. Let us have something that we can own, and only we can own as a community. That has been my thought forever. I know I can be criticized for being immature, I can be criticized for being very idealistic, but hey, there's a starting point.
No, I don't worry about being criticized, because in the end, I'm like, I know everything in my life is touched by my cynicism. So if I am against it, it's only because I feel like, what? but gay guys are so toxic. So why are they thinking of getting married first? They need to rectify that about within the community, how much toxicity is that. So I just go on that level. So I'm like, okay, शादी करने का है, करो.
Yeah. No, so that's, I think, the closing point is that the reason why, and I get it. Of course, even I was pissed off. But the pissed off was my being pissed off wasn't a factor of what the hell, how could they do this? My anger was, it just came from, okay, this is yet another thing that this regime is doing, which just proves that they don't like choice. And
I
I
like how
think
you keep saying regime. Because it is technically.
it is, yeah. But yeah, so I think that's where, I mean, at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, whether we choose to marry or not as a community, we need to have the choice, and let's hope and let's work towards it in the future. So
I've honestly, secretly, the 2-3 times that I've been messaged by, oh, you said, because we've used the word Sanghi on our podcast 2-3 times, we've said things like that, and we've been a little obvious about our at least inclinations like that in what we feel about politics. So when they get irritated in my inbox, I love it because then I don't respond.
well, cheers to that.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we'll be right back. This was our first segment, TikTok. We'll be right back with our main meat, which is the big talk.
I did not know that's what these video calls were about. Who's getting their main meat on? Okay.
All right. We'll be back in a jiff.
See.
And we're back. All right. So what are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? I'm still getting used to this video thing.
The pains of being gay.
The pains of being gay, which
Being
there are
queer.
many.
Yeah.
There are so many.
All right. I mean, I think there's a whole lot to unpack there. But let's start with what comes to your head first.
And when we decided, when we decided this topic, I felt like all my pains of being gay happened after I was a full-fledged adult. Like being young and gay was exhilarating and enthralling and so much fun for me. But the older I got and the more real issues I faced, I feel those have been the pains of. So I don't want to call these growing pains. So which is why I felt like, because again, I've repeatedly said I've not faced a lot of things that other people seem to have faced, and not coming from privilege, but I genuinely know that I just was very happy that I was into dick since I was a very young age. But once a few relationships happened, once I understood oh my God, the lay of the land, this is how gay parties are, this is what Grindr is, this is how relationships are, this is what open relationships are like, then I'm like, okay, this gay thing is a short fun ride in the start.
So, I mean, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Wow. What's the first, as in what do I find most painful about being gay?
The about the gay experience. What's like? I'll give you an example. For me, the idea of and this is again something that I've worked over, worked on over the past few years. The idea of perfection, I think it's a remnant of what being queer has kind of pushed on me. This whole idea of everything has to be a certain way. At work you have to perform a certain way. I think that's, and I get a lot of messages where people say very sweet messages where they say, I identify with you because you sound like a sorted person who's out to achieve. And my first response to them is, what, that's not a good thing always, because believe me, this whole idea of sorted and out to achieve has crippled me in the past.
I to get scared if someone says, oh, your life seems so amazing from your Instagram and all. I'm like, I'm anything but sorted.
Yeah, like, so, I mean, the whole idea of this, the overcompensation that kind of you burden yourself with very subliminally, that, okay, so maybe you're not doing things in a particular way that the world expected you to. You will do things, a lot of other things in your life, but to compensate it, you will push yourself 20 times harder to to be at the pinnacle of all of those things. And I think that for me has been the biggest, I would say the biggest learning experience, and pain is always a learning experience. I think that for me is one of
And
the
I
first
think
things
I
I can
have
talk
more of
about.
an answer. I feel like when, again, combined with the time I grew up in, in the 80s and 90s, where again it was still very problematic to be into boys and stuff like that. I feel like I felt unique and I celebrated my uniqueness. But then the more I found out that, oh, I'm not unique, there's like all of us have these issues and we all are like collectively gay.
So
I felt,
say now, what, give an example of what.
for example, if I had to say the one thing, that uniqueness that made me feel special about
No,
myself,
I'm talking about pain.
I know. Now I feel totally out of place within my own community a lot of times. Like that's a huge pain point for me. So many times I just assume that I won't get along with other gay guys. I would, except for the ones I've already had over the years, like my friends that I've built over the years. If I have to step out and like actively make friends, I just have like a very dismissive, annoying, and by annoying I mean like I find that annoying about myself, and I'm just very like, this person won't get my sense of humor. In fact, I'll give you an example. Even when something little happens, and I'm like, what? I get so surprised. So I recently hooked up with someone, and when he came over, I was playing music, and he knew a lot of the artists I was playing, and I was like, wait, how the fuck does this guy know all the music I listen to? Like, how does he know this band? How does he know? So it made me realize the next day that I just assumed that no, you don't know as much pop culture. You don't consume. You're still very RuPaul's Drag Race. I have that, and I'm saying that as a negative thing
Got it.
about me.
So
It's a negative thing about me.
pardon me for interrupting, but are you saying that we just make it easier on ourselves, to function by slotting people? Is that one of the things that
Totally.
that's a pain? You not being able to slot yourself in a lot of places, uh, and what was unique once is kind of a pain now.
Exactly, because you just helped me understand it better, right? Like, I have lived label free all my life, okay? But then suddenly, when I'm actually out and proud and stuff, then I realize that, wait, all these, there are so many like things and tags and like preferences and boxes that you are packed into. Like, I literally find it tough on Grinder to skirt this whole what's your preference, where do you stay, what's your name, what do you do conversation. I thought a simple remedy for that is putting it all in my profile, but
Doesn't work.
it's just like you still have to go through this interview each time to just fuck someone or be with someone, and I'm like, no, this is not organic to me anymore.
Can I just
So
say something? I
yeah,
don't lose that though, like, because I
I don't like. So again, when that guy says, oh, he listens to this band, I suddenly fell in love with him in my head. You know what I mean? Like, I went to the extreme end. Wow, he listens to Grimes, he's my guy. you
yeah.
know but long story short, it's just I keep an eye on it. I keep an eye on it. Again, I come from a very self-aware place of knowing where I am the problem in this situation, and the universe is not meeting me halfway in solving the situation, because it is a problem. It is a problem all my friends are facing. So I take comfort in that fact, because it's not, I know I'm not the only one feeling this, where, oh, why do I have no like excitement to go for Pride every year? Why do I no longer have any excitement to like mingle or make friends? And because it has become such an exhausting and repetitive and cliched process that I'm like, so again, coming back to what's the pain point for me, I'd have to say an adult pain point has been, like, if I had to say, my first gay internal issue has been constantly feeling out of place in a community where I'm supposed to feel accepted. So that's been a big one. And I'm saying this after, I'm not even bringing up the failed relationships and all of that. Like,
See, those are not even exclusive to being queer, right? Like, failed relationships.
Sure.
You would experience that irrespective. Like, I've had
Sure.
failed relationships on both sides of the pond. But
Yeah. No, I
so
meant like the things that attach them to gay relationships, the kind of failures that happen in a gay relationships for, again, which are there with straight people also, we face them too. But whether it's like cheating or because you couldn't figure out how an open relationship works,
Yeah.
or because which are endemic to our community. I've been through those
Yeah,
also,
yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
those I don't count, because those again are just life processes,
Life
and life,
processes.
that's
Yeah.
how it is for everyone.
Yeah.
It's not like a gay
I
straight
agree.
thing, but this one thing of constantly feeling like, and then hating myself for that,
Hmm.
that's fucking irritating even more, where I constantly am like, why do you feel like you're better than everyone? Why do you feel like, you don't belong because you don't make an effort? Like,
Hmm.
I then try to be hard on myself about it.
Yeah.
And but then when I try and I get it's confirmed that, oh, you are right, just go home and just play on your Xbox for 8 hours and go to sleep, I find that very comfortable. So yeah.
Uh, well, I follow the other path like very often. I think one of those pains is the fear of constantly feeling not attractive enough.
Okay.
That's one of the things that I go through, and there's a lot of talking that I need to do to myself. Like I constantly feel like my skin's not right, my hair's not
Sorry,
right.
but if you do to yourself or to others or
To
both?
myself, yeah, to
Okay.
myself, and all of the things that I will be mentioning, I think those are all very endemic internal processes, very internal processes. I think yeah, so I think one of those pains is this constant struggle of not feeling uh, beautiful enough, not feeling attractive enough all the time. Um, and this whole rigmarole that I go through, where I read this on somewhere on Instagram, where if there is a date or a meeting that's coming up, I will cancel it based like
Just
I need
because.
a
Oh, yeah, yeah,
because I'm just feeling so ugly,
yeah, yeah.
like that, and it's yeah, I just hate that because when the sense gets knocked into my head, the logical side of me looks into the mirror and says, you're fine the way you are. But then at that moment, none of those memories matter, because at that moment you feel just not good enough, and then you make up an excuse and you say, maybe it's not, whatever, and you just push it further and further and further, hoping that the interest will just die off on that end. But the realization doesn't strike you that maybe the other person does, like they find you attractive, that's why they're reaching out to you.
Can I tell you something? I'm so happy we are doing this in a video format, because you are saying this and I'm like, holy shit, look at yourself. Like, you have this gorgeous fucking Stone Age beard right now, this luscious fucking lock of hair, even the curtain, everything looks hot behind you because of you. And I'm like, no, 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 this is not flattery. This is not flattery. So it's making me realize that, yeah, we say these things and we feel these things, right? In fact, again, therapist type. But I remember once my therapist asked me, so how many times, see, you said you feel, so a lot of times he said that, how many times do you feel these things, and how many times do you think are you actually those things? So a lot of times I started focusing or realizing how many times I put the word feel before what is actually bumming me out. So I'm feeling fat today. Now, fat cannot be a feeling. You know what I mean? These are all feelings that you're feeling in the moment, but overall, zoomed out, you are like this person that you are. And then again, there is the next level, which is whether you are ugly or not ugly, or fat or not fat, and all. You don't give a shit, because
Yeah,
what do you what are you appealing to? What are you trying to appease? Whatever it is. And I'm not saying this to you as advice or
yeah, yeah,
something,
yeah,
but
to
it's so
everyone.
relatable what you just said.
Like I'll tell you, I'll give you an example. For the longest time we've been wanting to do these video calls. What one of the main reasons why I'm
I
so
know where you're going.
scared of
Yeah.
it is because I'm very conscious of
Mm,
how my teeth look and how my nose looks.
mm,
I have jagged teeth,
mm.
I have really jacked up teeth, and I have like a crooked nose, and I'm very conscious of how weird it looks,
क्या बोल
how
रहा है ये?
weird I
क्या
look
बोल
when
रहा है
I'm
ये
talking.
लड़का? क्या बोल
and
रहा है?
and that's what it takes shaking me up to say that to see that, there are Hollywood actors and Bollywood actors. I mean, Bollywood not so much, but uh, you know, who are comfortable in their skin and who have crooked teeth and who I still find attractive. If I find that person attractive,
Yeah.
I'm sure this can be attractive in someone's world. And this, if forget about someone's world, if I find this particular thing attractive on someone, I'm sure I can find this attractive on me too.
Yeah. Did I very recently started watching Game of Thrones for the first time? Yeah. And I was constantly shocked at how I find Prince Joffrey hot. But I'll tell you where I'm coming from, okay? One second. I'll tell you where. He's the kind I want to hit. You know what I mean? Like, I want to sexually hit him. Like, चुप है,
Okay.
गांडू, हट कर, ऐसा मत कर स्टार्क बच्चों के साथ. Like, don't be,
Yeah.
I kind of, yeah, basically, even I realize how everyone is beautiful to someone, and I just hope like I've settled for that now. Like, hey, I am nice, and if someone likes me for that, and if someone likes me appearance also, maybe that's good for them. It's not bad for me per se. So but again, these are things that come with age, I guess. It
I
took
guess.
us so long, and still we struggle with it. I feel ugly so many times. I feel so many times we decided to not do this video podcast because of trivial things like my hair is fuck all, or I'm again so oily, or I don't want to sit, I want to lie down and do it. Like today also I'm sitting up. I can't wait to lie down after this call.
All right.
That's
Next
okay.
question for you.
I want to
Yeah.
ask you. I want to
Yes.
ask you.
Yeah.
Growing up, what are the tough ones?
Okay.
Growing pains.
I had no point of reference ever while growing. I never had a point of reference, and that was so weird because that was very painful because you grow up with no sense of where you will possibly be headed. Uh, Someone who doesn't talk, and again, reminder, everyone, I grew up in Ranchi, and for someone who doesn't talk the same language as everyone, I didn't talk cricket. I didn't talk, sports, and I didn't talk engineering and medical, and I didn't have the, aspiration to kind of um, earn a lot of money through like, these two sort of, career forums. Um, I just felt like I felt very insulated from the world and very alone. So that was something that I feel is, yeah, like that for me was one of the bigger pains, I would say.
I don't know. If I had to like, it's really tough for me to say anything pre 25. I found till I was 25, I was on my knees thanking God that I was gay. I don't know what it was. I was so happy because again, it's what made me unique. I felt whether even if it was largely limited to myself within me, but I never felt shame of any sort. I never felt, even though I had similar situations that everyone goes through, like how my parents reacted to it, and my mom wasn't the best, like at understanding it, and you know, so, but I never saw that as something that derailed my life or caused me excruciating, you know, I would say trauma, different kinds of trauma, but at least my gayness was never something that impeded my well-being or something. It's just the growing up and then having been through the drill of being gay, have I started finding problems or loopholes in this life that I've chosen for myself in a way. Chosen is the wrong word, but this
Yeah.
life that I have now, I have so many fucking issues, and sometimes these issues are so trivial, but they're so big to me. I'm not kidding.
What's the
Can
last thing you faced? Yeah. Last thing that can come to you, that comes to your mind.
it's dude, it shocks me that this is such a huge pain point for me. But something I never get over is boys I've been intimate with. Okay, and this is zero jealousy, zero possessiveness, zero this. Okay, it's something else only. I can't put a finger on it, but I just don't like that everybody knows everyone. It just that really grinds my gears, and it's something I try to get over. It's something I try to understand and decode and all of that. Again, that sounds like quite a frou-frou problem, you know. Oh, I don't like that the boys I have sex with have sex with boys that I know, and then those boys meet and those boys. But dude, it's just such a big problem for me. And sometimes and it's one of those problems, you know, all my problems, I've realized that if I talk about it enough, they somehow start revealing themselves, or they make sense to me, or I get over them and all. But this is one thing that I just don't I don't know, I take it personally. I take it personally because I also feel like I don't want to sound, I literally, for me, a hookup is not a hookup. You know, I'm there, you know, I'm there in humor, I'm there in music, I'm there sexually, I'm there intimately, I'm there. Again, I hate that you said this to me so many times. I realize that I've crystallized this to just sex again. Yeah. But it's a big one. It's a big one. This is something that really fucking annoys the shit out of me. That no, some people, I just want to be mine. I don't want everyone to know everyone. And I don't know. I guess it makes me feel commonplace. At least that's what came out in therapy, where I feel like I have a tough time because again, I've always said, wow, I'm so unique and I'm so different and I'm so funny and I'm the funny, yes.
But you are not, you are not.
But I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not the handsomest for sure.
As in you're not the one thing in their lives, and that's what
exactly. And then I don't know. It's something I don't even try to decode anymore, but I feel it constantly. Yeah, because before I was leaving, I had like a barrage of goodbye sex. And I just like so deeply connected with all of them. But now that I'm in Pune, I suddenly feel distant from them. And then to see, oh, this guy went to a party with this guy during COVID. Like I become like this hissy auntie who's like, fuck, I hate myself when I do that. I really hate myself. And the funny thing is, in a relationship, I've never felt jealous. It's been a problem. It's not like when I'm in a relationship that, oh, who are you messaging? I'm not that person either. So I don't know where this comes from. Like, why do I feel it with people who I actually don't have any kind of deep bond with? But in a relationship, when I have that bond, I don't feel those things. Weird, but that's my ever growing pain. I don't know. But yeah.
One of the things I kind of faced a couple of days back when moving was, I think this is again, it kind of bogged me and bothered me that, you know, one thing that's been very, very important to me right from the time I, you know, started earning and all of that was to be self-sufficient in every single way. But that realization that at the end of the day, if you're an out queer person, it will never be enough for the society. Like you will never be in my place. If there is a straight cisgender man, you know, there will be lesser sanctions on that person, lesser will be asked of that person, just because he's straight, just because he can marry a woman. I moved into this house, bloody hell, I'm paying for everything. I'm paying for every single corner of this particular house. But still the kind of questions I kind of had to tackle were annoying. And it just made me feel like the only way you can be a self-sufficient person, truly self-sufficient person, if you're queer, is if you're a fucking, you know, millionaire. That's the only way. And there is no other way. And that kind of really hit me and struck me, because I wouldn't go so far as to say straight people have so much freedom. I think straight men have a lot more freedom. Like they are not asked questions like, you know, we are. They are not, you know, there are no suggestions made of, oh, so agdam bagdam ye sab nahi hona chahiye, huh? Like, and I'm like, what do you mean? I'm a fucking 33-year-old who's renting this apartment.
Did someone say that?
This broker's like, you know, assistant, and he was like, ये इसके पहले जो यहाँ पे रहते थे ना, वो ना बहुत, वो लड़की बहुत अगड़म बगड़म काम करती थी दूसरे लड़कियों के साथ. तो वैसा बस मतलब, and I was like, who the fuck are you to say any of that? I am paying rent. I am I'm a decent individual. I'm a decent human being. I am considerate about my neighbors. I am clean, hygienic, more than I can say about a lot of people in my fucking apartment complex. So why still do I have to encounter it over
As in, you're saying you're judged or scrutinized more than
the anyone
because
who is not straight, a
doesn't
straight
fit that mold. I get it.
a
I get it.
straight man. I think even women have to go through that,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what I think. That's just it pissed me off because yeah, like the idea that I had to say at my age, I'm 33, that I'm staying alone in a 3 BHK. I have to give a reason for that. I had to give a reason that, oh, my dad will come and stay with me. I couldn't take a what, like I can't have a house that's like that's a
This
3
is funny.
BHK.
You literally moved in the same building, so
It's
it's
the
like
same
this.
building,
I
yeah.
know. I
Like
know.
I had to give a valid reason for it, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I don't think you would have asked a straight person because that person would say, "हाँ मेरा शादी होगा ना कुछ दिन में."
Mm.
Like I will eventually move in, but I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
So what do you expect me to do? I have to make other shit up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that kind of really it kind of hammered my ego a little bit. It hammered my pride a little bit because I take pride in being self-sufficient,
Plus,
and
it's recent.
and it's yeah, and the fact that at the when I'm working day in day out towards kind of not having someone like almost freeing myself of this burden of answering this answering these kind of questions. You still get asked these questions, and that yeah.
Fucking irritating.
Yeah.
I guess, but again, whether it's like that's something, it's not a sexuality thing. We all live in a world where everything about us has is put on some level of scrutiny,
Yeah.
judgment, customs and traditions and fuck knows what, and all these things that are expected of you. And because I feel as gay individuals we struggle so much to break out of that mold, and then when we actually do, we so many times defy like
Mhm.
all these norms and still try to make our life out of what we have. And then when even a little instance like this can really set us off, because it makes you realize that, oh, I'm actually not very far away from what
Yeah,
I've done, like I'm
exactly.
actually still like that.
I'll tell you about an incident which rattled me like to the core. And this was sometime during what do you call it? Lockdown. It's sometime in October, November. I had this conversation with my previous landlord, and I mean, he's old and he's a little bit senile and all of that. Um, I was having a conversation about this geyser that wasn't working, and the geyser was sparking. So I was like, okay, so this is dangerous.
Yeah.
So I'd asked him that, would you want to get that changed because it's dangerous? It can kind of set the whole building on fire. His reaction was no. I had the geyser like you. Now this is under you. So I was like, okay, this is, I mean, sure, this is going nowhere. I attempted to explain to him the fact that, if it was structural changes, sure, but this
Sure.
is in like something's wrong with the geyser internally. So, and this is, you bought this. So I tried explaining that. And then it came to a point where, and he's very loud, like as a person, he's very loud. And I told, and his voice was kind of, going a little beyond what could be, classified as decent. And I pointed that to him. I said, please don't use that tone with me because we're having a proper conversation. And then he went on this whole tangent of saying, I think you're having alcohol problem, you're a drug addict. That's why you are saying all of these things. I don't. And that rattled me so badly because, again, just because I felt so alone, I don't think he would have had um, the gumption to do this with a straight married man, for example. Um, and that's what got me, that at the end of the day, we as a community, when we face these kind of obstacles, we are so alone because anyone can say anything and we'll just have to cower down. And of course, I kind of very gently, very in my own way, I tried to I gave it back to him, whatever. And that was one of the reasons why I really wanted to move out from that house, because I didn't want him as a landlord.
Did you stay in that house forever? Like
I
for
stayed there
long,
for
long
2 years. 2 years. I usually
Okay.
minimum I stay for 2 years.
Okay.
But yeah, that was towards the end of my tenure. And yeah, like that rattled me so much, because and I know that it wasn't about me being gay from his end, but it felt like that for me. It felt like me being different, and the fact that all the things that I do to be able to live a complete life by myself without anyone's help was why he could pick on me.
You know, it's so funny you say this, because I'm going to give you an example which is in the same vein of what you just said, and it's on the opposite side of the spectrum, which is acceptance. Okay, but even that irritated me. So I'll give you an example. When I was applying for my job, right, this job that I have right now, I remember a very tiny thing at some point, like where one of my to-be employers was very like, oh, we heard the podcast, we love the podcast, and you know, we as a team are always looking to build a diverse team, so we are looking forward to an LGBTQ person joining us. And that fucking really stayed with me for a few days. You know, now look at that, right? It's actually amazing what happened. Like, I get the gesture. I get the gesture. Wow, you want diversity and all. But for it to be a thing to someone, like sometimes it's just like, even that is like, this person's being accepting, yeah, of me. They're proud that, oh, they're getting someone of my, again, sexuality or whatever, adding that to their team and all. But I don't know why that sentence fucking irritated me, and to some points even like I was annoyed that what the fuck, why, like, not that, oh, take me for my job, I'm more than happy. If you're going to hire me just because I'm gay, then I hope I get better jobs in life. You know? Just for being gay, I'll do fantastic then. But I don't know, like sometimes it's we live in such weird like dichotomies again, you know, as gay people, where this side of this also we find, because for example, even when I thought one of the things we talk about is growing up pains are one of the main thing is bullying, right? And I remember when I used to get bullied in any way, I used to actually fight with wit back then. You know, I wasn't someone who would like come parking lot mein mil tera thoda phod dalega types, but I used to get a kick out of it that fuck, it's irritating these people that I am not like them. I used to, you know, and in that sense, I felt like it made me stronger. That feeling constantly made me stronger. That I always wanted to challenge everyone's norm of like what they think about me. So it's just such a weird state to constantly exist in. It's a little schizophrenic like that.
Yeah, I think what annoys, I know where you're coming from, because sometimes you just don't want to stick out.
Yeah.
You know, this whole, and the fact that you're always, you know, there's this and I of course, yeah, I have to give it to people who want to be inclusive, but to feel like a token is what annoys me. You know, there's nothing that annoys me more than when people say they, you know, when they refer to the queer community and they say they, because it I don't know how else they would say it.
Sure.
But it just feels like people say it with a sense of मैं तो उनके लिए बहुत कुछ कर रहा हूँ. The fact that I'm accepting
then
of
how
that.
do you feel now that it's an actual pronoun? Because now it's
No. Sorry, no. When I say they, I don't mean they them.
collective,
like,
as the community.
As the community, you know, when they say
The gays.
you know, yeah, the gays or the lesbians,
Yeah,
and you know, they deserve to kind of, you know, have the right to marry. When they say that, I think that's when I think, and I know that maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I feel like that person saying it with this sense of, I have my shit sorted. I feel like there is a sense of I'm on a higher pedestal. I'm on a different echelon of this large like ladder. when they say it, and we as a community are just like a smidge below, and that's what like just like just
Yeah.
pisses me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think yeah, there are being
Don't
gay
get bummed out. Don't get bummed out, Sunetro. Come on, come on. We should end this segment on a happy note. Come on.
yes.
And the funny thing is, I thought there would be so many pains of being gay, which by themselves, each pain, if we tackled, is an episode of its own, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I guess we pretty much we are little pains. These are our little
Yeah,
annoyances.
yeah, and I think everyone has that. I just feel, I do feel like a couple of these pains also give us richer experiences in life. I think
Feel no, they do. They
yeah,
definitely.
yeah, and they help us. I think we end up being more articulate as people. We end up being more a couple of days back, someone from my team was saying, I can't believe you're, the way you talk, you're just 33. And they were like, how and they were it was just like, it turned into a laugh fest. And I was like, I am 33. They said, no, you are at least 35, because the way you talk is like a 35-year-old. And I said, no. And they said, how could this be? So I said, because I'm a homosexual. That's why. That's just why. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, being a homosexual, you go through enough to maybe sound a little older, maybe not wiser, but definitely older.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
that's
it's such a funny topic overall, this thing, because whatever you're saying, I feel the opposite also. I feel the things that you're saying also, like, yeah, you become a better person, you become a more well-rounded individual, the race to become a more financially dependent person is faster for you. Like, all those things do happen, but then there are the pains, which is sometimes loneliness, like you touched upon, isolation, feeling again, just constantly terrified of what your family think, what your friends think. There are so many pains that come with just by being born the way you are, and that I hope that I hope doesn't exist at some point. Like, I don't know if it'll ever go away, because nowadays when I feel like someone's struggling with coming out of the closet, I'm like, yaar, kaise? Abhi to 2021 chal raha hai. Aajkal to everyone know I see gay boys partying with their moms and like having mimosas. And sorry, I saw you taking a sip and I suddenly remembered this one boy I follow. Like, he and his mom have these brunches together, and all these gays tweet. Oh shit, the gays. They all Twitter together and eat meringues and pies, and I'm like, wow, like abhi now no one should have an issue, but it's a real thing.
That's a very small minority of very fortunate people.
I know.
There's still a long way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, on that note, we'll be right back. And we are back. So here we go. I think so this is our third segment, and our first segment was called TikTok, just to kind of brush up on the three segments that we are talking about. The second segment was called Big Talk, where we obviously take on one large topic and kind of, take some time to unspool it. And the third segment is Happy Times, and we call it Small Talk. And we literally do that. And so what is Small Talk? Small Talk's just stuff that Farhad and I like, things that we discovered, or basically appreciate
content,
anything,
pop
just
culture, anything,
something that's just heart for us. So do you have a thing in mind? Or
I do.
Please go ahead.
So before we started recording, I read through. We wrote a little note about what these three segments are going to be, and I read somewhere that things we appreciate, and because we are restarting our podcast, I want to start by appreciating myself. I really do, and I'll tell you why. This is not some self-love bullshit and all, but as you know, I moved back to Pune to spend a lot of time with my father, and this is the first time I'm living with him all the time, and I'm for the first time realizing what dementia actually is like now. And wow, I felt like if I don't constantly appreciate myself, I
Mm.
will, because there were times that I started losing my patience with him.
Mm.
There were times that I was constantly getting irritated or short, like I was constantly feeling that. And it's I quickly very early realized that, hey, no, that's not a road to go down, because he's not the victim, or he's just going through this right now.
Mm.
And basically I felt like, and something that might not be often said, but how much care the caregiver sometimes might need. So this is me appreciating myself. The next week I might have a nice little okay, if I can quickly give a movies I saw, I Care a Lot. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I want to know, because I know you saw it. What did you think of it?
I loved it. I
Yeah.
absolutely loved it.
Okay.
I personally think that she should be nominated for an Oscar. Like
Okay.
she was
Utna.
so good. And
I
so I'll tell you a couple of things about it. Like, and I don't want it to become all about that film, but I
Sure.
firstly loved her. Of course, there are plot loopholes here and there, and sure. But she was so fucking convincing. It was such a well fleshed out character. Um, and it doesn't hurt that the film's mounted very beautifully visually.
Yeah, yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. For me, when the movie started, it starts with a song that I actually love, and I know a lot of people have not heard. So when the movie started, I was like, okay, I'm going to love this movie. Secondly, I love Rosamund Pike in this psycho cunty asshole mode. It's great fun to watch, but I couldn't help but constantly feel like I was watching a Bollywood movie. Like, अरे यार, अरे so convenient यार, अरे ये क्या है यार, ये क्या है. But it was a great ride, I have to
Hmm.
say. It was a
Hmm.
great watch for sure.
Hmm.
And I know you recently very briefly mentioned that you saw that movie, so I wanted to know what you thought of it. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
you go.
All right.
What's
So,
your
what did I absolutely fall in love with? So I watched this one show called "It's a Sin,"
oh man?
and it's written by the same guy who wrote Queer as Folk, the UK Queer as Folk, so Russell T Davies, and he's like a legend in his own right. The reason why I fell in love with it, I don't think it's I think again it's about a bunch of men in 80s and 90s, like going through the AIDS era, basically living through that and dying through that. That's not new, but the intimacy with which it has kind of been treated, and the realism with which it has been treated is amazing. uh, to the point that there's this one segment, one shot. I'll give you an example, which the reason why I felt it spoke to me so much. There's a sex scene where there's this one guy who's eating another guy out, and so he's rimming him, and he just gets revolted, and he says, "You need a wash." When have you seen that ever? Because that's real sex.
Yeah.
You say these things. I have said this to someone. Listen, can you douche first? And it's not awkward because you have to make it not awkward.
Yeah.
And that's why I fell in love with it, because it was so fucking real.
Mm.
And one was that, and secondly, I just have this. I go down this rabbit hole of going through who whenever I love something, I go through who the cinematographer is and the writer is, blah 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 blah. Literally every single person from the cast is a queer person, and I can't. It felt so good because I am so fucking tired of hearing when straight actors take on gay roles, hearing the fact that, oh, it's so brave for them to have taken on gay roles. Fuck that. No. Sure, they might have done a good job. But here, I feel like the authenticity that a queer person could bring to the role was just, I mean, you can't compete with that.
Which is what made Pose also what it is. Like a lot of them, I love
Exactly.
Pose because it's just
Exactly.
everybody had something. It's a sin. Coming back to it, so there are 2-3 people in my life who, like, okay, if they recommend, I'm gonna watch it. Otherwise, I don't watch anything anyone recommends,
Hmm.
honestly. But so my straight best friend, I've not seen It's a Sin, by the way. I've not
Hmm.
seen it. I'm dying to watch it. But my straight best friend saw it, and he said he couldn't stop bawling his eyes out. Like he loved it that much. So
Yeah.
it's on my watch list. Where did you watch it? Like what? समझ गया बोलो मत हाँ? does it rhyme with Florence? Does it rhyme
Yes.
Florent?
Yes, yeah. Arr.
Yeah, where have you been? It's been blocked. No, I've not been getting.
No, as in just like the larger accent.
Okay, got it.
I love that we have video for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
We all know now how Sunetro thinks of pirates. He must have been the best person after watching Pirates of the Caribbean. Arr! A big fisting porn. Was there a fisting porn version of Pirates of the Caribbean? That's what it looked like.
I'm sure there has to be something. But yeah, so it's a sin for me. Definitely, everyone who's had a queer experience should go watch it, because it's a very, very important era for everyone to know about. Because just what that generation lived through, it's and it's crafted beautifully. So
even I Care a Lot has a LG, like, I don't know, is it a spoiler if I say it?
No, I mean, it's
as in the
like,
protagonist is a lesbian. But can I tell you something? Her girlfriend, first of all, who looked like the ultimate hybrid of Priyanka Chopra and Nora Jones. Okay? She was so stunningly beautiful.
She's beautiful.
Somewhere
I really love her. I
felt the bisexual in me and fallen asleep, but she woke him up. Like I found myself googling her, and she was so.
I noticed her when I saw Baby Driver, and I was like, this chick's going to be big.
Yeah.
And she will be big.
She's adorable.
Yeah.
Fucking cute. Okay. I guess
all right.
It.
Yeah. So I hope you guys do message us about what you think of these three segments. If there's anything you would like us to add within the segments, please let us know. Anything that
modular. We are a modular episode. Sorry, I'm getting a modular kitchen, so now I feel like we'll be a modular episode. Like there are bits and parts that we can shuffle around.
Yeah. So there'll be a lot of talking points that we can incorporate within one episode. So do send in your recommendations and whatnot.
Or if we missed anything, I feel like pains of being gay. I know we've covered maybe 2% of it, or percent.
Maybe we'll do a retread of that episode once we get more talking points. So so it's truly amazing to kind of get back on the road with you, Farhad. I'm so glad we're doing this again.
Same here. So, and I want everyone who watches this, I'm assuming now that we are a video podcast, we'll be on YouTube and IGTV. I want everyone, whenever they come across this video, to comment under it, Sunetro, you're beautiful.
Oh my God.
Every time you see this
episode. And so are you, and so is everyone.
I am. That I know. मेरे को तो मालूम है यार. ये pimple छोड़ के पहचान. Okay.
All right.
That's it. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.